Well, hello everybody, and welcome to my show. My name is Jason DaCosta, and this is Consistent Preterism. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you all are having a lovely day out there. I am about to sneeze, so bear with me. Oh, yeah. Okay, 3 and out. Alrighty, so had to get that out, get that off my chest. But we're here. And today we're going to be looking at Acts chapter 9, actually. And this is one of the objection texts that is used against the IO position. And it's in regards to what is said about Paul here by God. And really, when you look at this, it is actually a proof text for IO, just like everything. You know, you see these people arguing against the IO position and saying that certain texts refute it. But in actuality, when you look at those texts properly, under the right context and in the right setting, you realize that they actually are IO proof texts as well. And of course they are, because the Bible's Israel only. But we all know the account. It's Ananias, and he's going to baptize Paul. Verse 14, then Ananias answered, "Lord, I have heard from many about this man, Paul, how much harm he has done to your saints in Jerusalem. And here he has authority from the chief priest to bind all who call on your name." And so this is what the Lord says to Ananias, okay? He says, "Go, for he is a chosen vessel of mine to bear my name before nations, kings, and the children of Israel." Okay, now let's read that again. The Lord says to Ananias, "Go." In other words, don't be afraid of Paul and what you've heard about him. He says, "Go, for he is a chosen vessel of mine to bear my name before nations, kings, and the children of Israel." Now, people will say, look, the mission was far wider than the children of Israel, because God is telling him that he's bearing his name before these 3 different groups. So clearly, it's got to be, salvation has to be for more than just Israel. Okay, well, there's a lot of issues with this. Okay, the first issue is an obvious one. Okay, it's the fact that if that were the case, and if salvation were for more than just Israel, then this passage runs up against many other passages and totally contradicts many other passages. We need not look very far. We can look in Revelation chapter 14 and find an ironclad Dagarewski that really shows that salvation was only for Israel, right? Revelation 14 says that no one except the 144,000 of the 12 tribes of Israel could sing the redemption song, because these were the ones redeemed from the earth. So now, if Acts chapter 9 and God here, speaking to Ananias, if this is saying or implying that salvation and redemption is for nations, it's for kings, and it's for the sons of Israel, then that runs into major problems with places like Revelation 14. Because Revelation 14 says that no one except the 12 tribes of Israel, the children of Israel, could learn the redemption song. We know that Jesus said he came only for Israel. That would clash there. We know that Paul said he died for those under the law. That would clash there. We know that Hebrews 9:15 says that he died for sins committed under the first covenant. Kings and nations weren't under the first covenant, so we know that would clash there. And those are just 4. I mean, we could go on and on for hours if I really wanted to put together a list of how badly this idea in Acts 9 would clash with the rest of the New Testament. So I prefer to let the text fall within the greater context and make sure that they're not contradicting and clashing in such a way like this one would, if this is exactly what God is saying here. But he's not saying that. Okay, what he's saying is that, well, let's back it up a second. The second point, because I just made the first point. The second point on this passage is that Paul is dead. Okay, Paul is not alive anymore today. All right, and what do I mean by that? Well, the whole point of the passage is that this man, Paul, was a chosen vessel to do these things. He was the vessel that God is speaking of here. He was the one who was chosen to do this mission, to take this task, right? And so Paul is dead today. right? That passage is not about anybody today. It doesn't say Bobby Jones in 2021 is my chosen vessel to bear my name before kings and Gentiles and the children of Israel. It doesn't say that. It's talking about Paul. Okay, Paul was that vessel that was chosen to do that. Okay, and Paul is dead. All right, so that's irrelevant, completely irrelevant. But the third and most important point that I'll make on this passage is that it's just common sense, okay? It's just a statement. It's a very factual statement, is it not? And what I mean by that is this. Did or did not Paul bear God's name in front of kings, in front of nations, and in front of the sons of Israel? Did he or did he not? Of course he did. Okay, of course he did. So the whole point is that is exactly what Paul was commissioned to do. Paul had a mission, all right? His mission was to seek the elect from the nations. Okay, he was going out, he was fishing men, he was throwing his net out and seeing who he could gather in. His sheep would hear his voice and come. Okay, and Paul was seeking those elect. But in order to seek those elect, he would have to bear the name of God before kings, before nations, and of course, most importantly, before the children of Israel. And that's exactly what we see Paul do in the Gospels, in the epistles and in the letters of the last days. Paul is going before kings. We see him in front of Agrippa. What does he say to King Agrippa? He says, "For the hope of Israel, I'm bound with this chain." Interesting. He didn't say, "For the hope of all humanity, I'm bound with this chain." He said also that that he was being punished for the hope of the 12 tribes, which they served God earnestly day and night, hoping to attain. He said that to the king. He didn't tell the king that he was going to inherit this promise if he just believed. He told the king that for the hope of Israel, he was bound in those chains, for what they served God every day and night, hoping to attain. That's why he was bound. The resurrection, their hope. So here he is fulfilling that in front of kings, right? But he's not evangelizing King Agrippa. He's just bearing the name before King Agrippa. Likewise, in all the nations Paul had to go to, where he was rejected and beaten and tortured, that was his burden that he had to bear. He had to take that name and that message before kings, before nations, and most importantly, before the children of Israel. So that just blows it right out of the water. Okay, it's just a factual statement. Doesn't mean salvation was for all three parties. Okay, it means it was for Israel, but he couldn't get to Israel unless he came in front of the other two parties, the kings and the nations, because that's where they were. They were all over the place. And it's kind of interesting how people would claim that Paul is the apostle to the Gentiles, right? That's the traditional Christian argument. But yet, here in this passage, we see that Paul is actually bringing the message to the children of Israel. Interesting, right? Because most people would just say, no. The children of Israel were Jews, and Peter took care of those guys. Paul was talking to pagans. Paul had other things in mind. But no, Paul's whole hope, like I just said, was for the hope of Israel. He was bound with chains for the hope of Israel. And he was said there by God that he would bear the name before the children of Israel. So folks, that's all I got for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it made sense. This is just another one that you can scratch off the old objection list, because it really does not harm the IO view. So if you liked it, folks, give it a quick like. If you didn't, take a quick hike. And remember to be kind in the comments. We'll catch you all on that flip side. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. And what would my Ardmore, Oklahoma morning musings be without a little addition to the end that comes later? So that's what this is, folks. I'm just going to append a little message onto the back end of this here. I hope that you enjoyed the Acts 9 stuff. Again, it really comes down to the contradictions that would bring forth, if in fact that was the case. And it's not. It's simply just a factual statement. So that was Paul's mission. That was Paul's burden. That's exactly what he did. He had to go to the nations. He had to stand before kings. all for the purpose of gathering Israel. Kind of like Jesus said in Matthew 10, don't go to the Gentiles, don't go to the cities of the Samaritans, but rather go only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So in other words, you're going here, but you're not going there for the pagans. You're going to these places for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And we see that in Revelation 5, where they're singing that song. And it says, you have called us out from every nation, tribe, tongue, and kindred. Out from. All right. So these people were in the nations. They were Israelites. They were lost sheep, scattered abroad, prodigal son type. And God was having mercy and remembering the covenant that he made with their fathers in the beginning. And I just wanted to say that this is probably going to be my last audio forever. No, I'm just kidding. Not forever. But probably for a good time, maybe a time and half a times, until Jerusalem is crushed under my feet. Because I have a busy weekend. Labor Day weekend, and got a lot of things planned. And then next week is booked out. I have to head west on the Oregon Trail, and with my covered wagon and all my supplies, and look for a new homestead. Actually, no, but I do have a trip out west, so it's going to be quite the busy week, and I just don't believe that I will have time to get to things. I do have some pre-recorded audios that I could share, but I like to engage. I like to be at least available to react and respond to the comments, and I just don't feel like I'm going to have that opportunity next week. So just wanted to give you guys the heads up that I won't be falling off the face of the flat earth. And no, I'm not a flat earther, but I don't care either way. I just wanted to give you that heads up. You may not hear from me for, a week or 2 weeks. Who knows how long it's going to take. But yeah, Labor Day weekend leading into a big, important trip. And who knows? I might get a wild hair across my ass and throw something out there. You never know. I could shock you. But I might just shut her down, hang up the old microphone for a little while, and focus on what needs to be done on my end. So, I hope you all have a lovely Labor Day weekend. Enjoy the weather. If you're down south, I hope you don't get washed away in that there tornado, hurricane, I mean. I haven't really been watching the news much, but I did hear it, that it is coming. And perhaps it's a judgment of God. Perhaps the stars will be shaken and the moon will not give its light. That could be a possibility. But that's all I got, folks. Hope you all have a wonderful day today. It is Friday. And enjoy your weekend. And we'll catch you sometime down the line on that flippity-floppity, peanut buttery flop side. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.